Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Brake, good evening. How you doing?
Very well, man. And yourself?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Thanks, man, again for being with us today, and good evening to all our viewers at home. And thank you for tuning in with us on this great topic that we'll be handling today. So I hope you're taking notes wherever you are. You will take notes. If you have questions, you can just put your question on our comment section and we'll take it from there. So before we go any further, I will just introduce myself. Then I will give our guest, Kekeletso Sbaking, who will introduce himself before we get into the matter of the day. So my name is Tabiso Mataban. You all know it. And so I've been in recruitment, let's say it's about 6, 7 years now, and which I've been exposed into different sectors. That's your government, that's your private sectors. I've been exposed into bulk recruitment, that's your call center space. By the way, I've done an IT recruitment, which Kekelotso was the one mentoring me into it because I didn't know.
Tabiso, we lost your sound. You're not audible on my side.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. We lost you there for a second. Sorry.
All right. Oh, no worries. Thank you. Apologies, guys. Technology can mess with you. Yeah, so that's what I've been exposed with. And, as I've said, dealing with your senior positions, dealing with your blue collar, that's your warehouse side. So, yeah, that's what, in a nutshell, I just recently got married. Yep, yep, yep. Uh, so, in a nutshell, that's all about me. So, I'll give over to you, Kekeleto.
Good evening, everyone. I think I've just been roughly working for over 10 years now because I think I started working when I was 30. So just like Tabiso, I think I met Tabiso at EOH and I was working in an RPO, seconded to a client, which was EOH Digital, and I was handling basically, I was part of an RPO team, and of which Tabiso, I think at that time was mentoring you, right? It feels like it was yesterday, but it's been years
Yeah,
since we worked
it's been
together.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been exposed to all sorts of recruitment from learnerships. We did a big project that I can recall that was very impactful for Rainwater, where we recruited about 15,000 learners. I think that was through EOH. So I
Mm,
was assigned to the Northern Cape region where we went to Kimberley, Umtata, Springbok, DR, all the other provinces that was affected in the Northern Cape. And then I did move from a recruitment agency to an RPO, and then from RPO slowly transitioned into. Oh yeah, and I was earmarked for an account manager position, which was in the ICT,
mm,
ICT space, which will be IT, where I
yeah.
was managing projects and managing people who are on site uh, by the likes of like Discovery Bank was
Yeah.
one of the clients that I was handling, and NetBank,
Mm, mm,
Reserve Bank, just to mention a few that I was
mm,
working on. And then I got headhunted and went into the legal space where I was fully fledged now into HR, basically, and handling graduate recruitment,
mm,
as a large portion of my role. And then
okay.
currently, I just recently joined an international law firm this year, of which grad recruitment is a big portion of what I do as well. And I
Mm,
manage legal interns and candidate attorneys.
mm,
Yeah, so I can go on and on. Just I don't even know where to stop, but I think that's where I'll cut it off in terms of my
mm,
introduction.
okay. Thanks, Kay, and welcome again. But before we get through the topic of the day, um, why are you having so much passion? I mean, towards graduate, because I know, working with you, I've seen you've been exposed to working with people that are more younger. Some it's fresh people that just completed their degrees. In every different sectors that you have been exposed to. Why graduates? Why is your passion there?
I think graduate recruitment for me is a passion because where I'm originally from, which is the Free State, I've lived in numerous places in the Free State, and I think the lack of exposure when I
Mm,
came to Joburg is that I had to learn and unlearn a lot of things once I got to Joburg,
mm,
and
mm,
I understood that everybody comes to Joburg for opportunities, and there is opportunities. The thing is know how to get to those opportunities. I mean, and the reason why it is a passion is precisely because of that. I believe that whatever we're doing in recruitment as a whole and in graduates specifically, it adds to the country. It makes the country a better space. As you can see, the unemployment rate for the youth is very high, and the funny part is, like once I said,
mm,
is it's not that there isn't opportunities, is that we don't know how to find these opportunities. And there is platforms
mm,
available of which obviously we're going to tap into, but we all have social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram. If you had to ask anybody, they'll tell you I have that application and they know how it operates. But if you had to ask people what other online platforms have you signed up on, the answer is normally like, what platforms? you know, or some would know, but unfortunately, information doesn't
Hi,
travel.
Kiki. I think we lost you there.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me
Hi,
now?
Kiki. Are you here? Uh, yeah, I can hear you now. I think we lost you there. Or
Oh, sorry.
can you hear me? Us? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. All right. So
Okay.
let's just get into, the topic of the day, because I'm sure there's a lot of graduates that are watching. I can see on Facebook that there's some of the graduates that are watching. They are eager. They want to know,
Yeah.
how do I prepare? How do I market myself as a graduate? Let's get into the topic of the day. You will give us, more expertise, because that's your niche. That's what you're good at.
Yeah, I think we might have to have two sessions for the purpose of time, but I can just try cover as much as we can in this specific session. I think ultimately the first thing is that normally people don't take for granted is, as people they're about to graduate, and I'm about to speak about stuff that relates to the industry that I'm in now, and then speak about in general. So my focus area
Okay.
right now is people that are studying law, LLB, because it's a law firm, and that's what we look for. And that's why when I attend career fairs with the various universities that we have, is that there's a criteria that we look for,
Mm,
and those people would need to be in their third year, second year, need to start researching about the law firms that they want to work for, marketing themselves. And what I mean by that, doing absolute like research as to which firm they want to be a part of, what those firms' practice areas are, and then in general is that once you have chosen a degree, I think the most imperative thing is that some people just choose degrees for the sake of choosing degrees, and then the back end
mm,
of that is that you graduate and you don't have a role to go into because there's an influx of people doing that particular degree, right? So is researching where the skill, where there's a skill
yeah, yeah,
shortage in the country. And I think the biggest one is obviously the ICT space, which is
yeah.
IT in general. There's a huge demand for obviously
Mm,
software development and stuff like
mm,
that. If it is your passion,
yeah.
or it's something that you would be keen on, it's something that you should pursue as opposed to a field of study. These other areas where there's a shortage of skill that people can look into. I think that's the basis where I'll start from. And then once now you've, about to complete that degree, you need to start, developing your LinkedIn profile, which is a very underrated
mm,
platform that is underutilized by the youth.
yeah.
And that's where a lot of networking
Mm, mm.
happens. You can
And by the way,
literally,
Kike, sorry to and by the way,
yeah, yeah,
sorry to cut you. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm saying by the way, I didn't yeah, I didn't know anything about LinkedIn until I met you. That's how many years
Yeah,
ago. Yeah, so I
yeah, I
didn't
think
know
that's about 4 years ago. Yeah,
yeah. So that's when I started building my LinkedIn profile. Yeah. Sorry, I was
yeah,
just pitching in there.
yeah, yeah. So basically, with LinkedIn, I started LinkedIn when it was in 2013. That was about, yeah, it's been a while. I think it's literally when I first started working. I think that was like 10 years ago, actually. Yeah. So I started
Mm,
my LinkedIn profile 10 years ago,
yeah.
and I think I'm sitting on about 9,800 and something connections, right? And these connections are people, whichever field that I was working on, I was connecting with people in those fields. So when I was working in the software development
Hi,
space,
Keke.
I'll connect. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hi, hi, Keke. We lost you there.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Hi, Tabiso. Can you hear me? Um, uh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Um. Sorry. I think. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
All right. Sorry about that. I think the network just wants to mess with us. So we still live, we're still good. Sorry, our
Okay.
viewers at home, and thank you for the comments, and we're seeing it. Thank you so much, guys. Sorry, apologies. Network wants to mess with us. So yeah, Keke, you were the last time I heard you, you were talking about how many people you have on your
Oh, yeah.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, so basically, I built that profile from 2013, and I was saying that in every industry I was working in, I was connecting with those people in that industry. So when I was dealing with predominantly IT, I was connecting with people in the IT sector. So I guess for whoever that's studying in a specific field, so if you're in marketing, you need to start connecting with people that are in marketing, connecting with people that are hiring manager, even if they're not hiring managers, connect with people in your sphere and then ask those people. There's nothing wrong with the same way you guys, the youth, is able to DM people to actually
Mm,
connect with them, is the same way you're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
DM people in LinkedIn and say, listen, I've just completed my degree, I need some sort of an internship or even a learnership. Don't think too much about the salary at this point, but obviously we from different backgrounds. So if
Mm, mm,
you can look at learnerships, and they offer like stipends or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, experience beats a lot of things. So I'd say your main priority is experience. So you need to reach out to those people and even ask for a mentor. Like I have a mentor that I've had for for the past 5 years, and I was
oh,
fortunate
yeah.
enough to, because of that mentor, it opened so many doors, it opened so many things in terms of my career. Even now at this stage at a personal life, he's the person that helped me to actually buy a house as opposed to
Mm,
going on trips and doing unnecessary things. But
mm,
ultimately, I'd say that your LinkedIn profile is the most important key that will unlock a lot of
mm,
opportunities for you. Um,
mm,
if you use that tool to network, you will definitely find yourself opening doors that you would have not opened would
mm,
you were you not on that so it's basically a professional site where whatever you're doing, so you've just completed a certificate, you update on LinkedIn, I've just completed a certificate, you started a new
mm,
role, you start there, so the market knows what you're doing, literally. So you connect
mm,
with people in that space and then it knows. So and there is job opportunities that is posted on LinkedIn.
mm,
um,
mm, mm.
so it's a very powerful tool, and like LinkedIn alone to dissect that is a session on its own, literally. But
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna move off LinkedIn now, and then I'm gonna go
Mm,
into finding out what other career portals are there. So I know there's Leaply, which is
mm,
highly utilized now.
mm,
There's
mm,
Career Junction, there is PNet. Those are the top two um, uh, portals, job portals that you can find a lot of opportunities on there.
mm,
And then we'll dive in, like we'll dive in into also revamping a CV, something as simple as that. So it's imperative that you keep up with the times in terms of a CV template. I've
mm.
seen CVs that are in Times Roman, and I can
Yeah.
simply tell you that those days are gone of
Mm,
black and white CV, Times Roman,
mm,
and then
mm,
you got
mm.
you got very bad grammar or
Yeah, yeah.
tables that
And
are
you
not
know,
aligning and stuff like that. So you need
yeah.
to
And
really.
people, and again, people needs to understand that coming from a strong recruitment agency background, people needs to understand that you can your CV, it's a first interview before I can even see you. So you need to give as much details on your CV, because some recruiters, we don't have time to call you. Do you have this? Have you done this? You need to give as much information on your CV so that it's easy for me to call you and just book you an interview, because there's is information there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Mm,
having to be on the other side when you receive, we receive so many applications, just to give you an indication. So we can have one role, and in that role, you may receive 300 applications. So, of course, in those 300 applications, what I'm going to be looking for is people that meet my criteria, right?
mm,
And
mm,
like the things that's a 10 off is obviously these things that I'm mentioning, which is grammar,
mm,
especially if you're
mm,
in law, you
mm,
will tend to, it's very, I don't know, lack of a better word, very pedantic. Attention to
mm.
details is a big part of being a great lawyer or a great trainee or a great candidate attorney or legal intern. So you need to pay attention to what you put out there. Like your CV
Mm,
is your first impression. So if your
mm,
CV is not that great, chances are we're not going to think you're great either. So,
yeah,
so
yeah.
ultimately, I think your CV is the powerful tool. It's like it
Mm,
sounds like a cliche, but that is your first introduction to a company.
mm,
And
mm,
having a cover letter is the most underrated thing as well. I don't see some
yeah.
people don't think that is necessary, but the reason for a cover letter as well that you can use to your advantage is that
Mm,
for every company that you apply for, research that company and make sure that you put certain elements of why you want to work for that company on your cover letter.
yeah.
So if you in the financial sector, for instance, and you want to apply for F&B, and there's a specific area in F&B that you want to work in, you can research what is F&B doing. You can go to LinkedIn and check what
Mm,
was
mm,
F&B doing the last, I don't know,
mm,
last 3 months, or what articles that they wrote. You put
mm,
that and say, listen, these things are the things that interest me in your cover letter. Then you have your
mm,
CV to accompany
mm,
that. So your cover letter, your CV, there's a lot of templates that a lot of people can use. I don't know
yeah.
if we can share the screen, but I wanted to share my screen to show you like a simple one page of CV, but that covers pretty much everything. So let me just try and see if I can share my screen. And then Tabiso, you can just let me know if you can see it.
Okay, what? No worries. I'll do that.
I think I can share on this platform because
Yeah.
I'm not on the same platform as you, so you'll be my eyes. Um, if you can see, I think my CV is outdated now, so don't mind.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but I'm just gonna share my screen and see if you guys can see this. Share screen, share screen, share screen. Yeah, share. Tabisa, can you see?
Yes. I'll edit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna project. This is a very old CV, by the way,
Mm,
but it's old in terms of date, but it's not old in terms of template,
okay.
right? So I don't know if your viewers can see.
Please can you just comment our viewers on the comment section if you can see the CV? Um, but I'm sure they must be able to see it because I can see it. I'm open on my live here on my Facebook, so I can see it from my
Oh, so
side.
you can see it, right? So
Yeah.
I just want to point out the key elements of like this CV. It's a very simple template, right? It's a one pager,
Mm,
and there's a
mm.
reason for that. So you will see I would have included my picture. I would have
Yeah, they
included
can
the
see it,
name,
Keke.
how they can see. I would have
Yeah.
included my name, what I do in terms of my role. I'll have a personal statement,
Mm,
and I'll have this is the previous company that I was at before I joined the current company, and I was at EOH and I was an account manager. My client summary of my jobs that I've worked at, and then my education, and pretty much that was it. But my latest CV is not like this, just to
mm,
say. But
okay.
it's very important that your CV is attractive and is well put
Mm,
together.
mm,
It's
mm,
aligning, and you are straight to the point as to what your experience is.
mm,
So, of course, you guys' CV is not going to be the same in
mm,
terms of the amount of content that's there.
mm,
But ultimately, what's important is you are going to make it as attractive as possible.
mm.
You know, gone are those days, which I'm going to stop sharing now. Gone are those days where we sending black and white CVs, like
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
that needs to go. And
Mm,
no one should tell you in 2022 that you shouldn't put a picture, you shouldn't
mm.
use modernized templates. I'm not
But
saying use.
however, they must have a nice picture because the pictures
Yeah,
that
I
we
was, I was
see,
about to. I was about to say, you're not going to put a picture of a filter that has a filter of Snapchat,
yeah,
or a picture where in a Shadeen or something. Obviously, a
yeah,
professional picture would be
and the tongue out
different.
pose, that tongue out pose that the ladies,
Yeah, so you wouldn't
yeah.
put a non-professional picture on the CV, right? So
Mm, mm,
uh, I just wanted to show you guys that CV because that is my CV in terms of like Poppy and stuff. I don't know if you now start displaying other people's pictures and stuff like that,
mm,
or
mm,
people's data, but I use that. That's my old CV, so I just use that as an example or a reference that you can use. You don't want to
mm.
use a template that is too out there, like it's got too many colors and it's got
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
simple colors. Like all these things sounds like it's very pedantic, but they do
Mm,
play a role in terms of how you present yourself, right?
mm,
And
mm,
ultimately, what is going to work for you, which now I'm going to step into a lot of things that people don't talk about,
mm,
is you need to change your lifestyle in a manner that you
mm,
changing it to the career that you're about to do. So people on this call,
mm,
there's multiple
mm,
people that are in different, they study in different degrees, different things. So
mm.
if you're going to be, for instance, because I'm gonna sound very unfair, but that's the industry I'm in now. Let's say you're gonna say the
Yeah,
legal space, right?
yeah.
So you're going to surround yourself that are in the sphere.
Mm,
So
mm,
what I mean by that, you're you're going to do some research and find people that are in that space, contact people that are in law firms and ask them,
mm,
what are you guys what are you guys doing? What did you do to get to that space? And it goes into
mm,
the mentorship space as well.
mm,
Your time will be consumed by a lot of that, you know. And
mhm,
if you check
mm.
those people's social media is completely different as well. Some of them
Yeah.
even have private accounts, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
you change your lifestyle to suit the space that you're
Yep.
in,
You are
you know. So
in. Yeah.
that is very important. Attending workshops, attending webinars
Mm,
such as like this can help you and have a different outlook on how you approach the market, you know. So
mm.
so it's very important that you align yourself with people in that space. And
Yeah.
if you, especially if you're currently now in universities,
Mm,
companies will
mm.
come to the universities. I know that we
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
career fairs quite recently, not recently, but it's been a while now. So I'd say between April and May, we
Mm,
were at VETS, we were at University of Pretoria, we were at NW, UCT. So we do go to the universities and we'll
mm,
have our banners. But because of COVID, some of them were virtual. So you can interact with us and actually ask us, what does your company do?
mm,
How can I apply to this company? You know,
mm,
if you're outside of the university and now you've graduated and you're still struggling to find a job, I suggest that there's no job that's beneath you. I started
mm,
a role and I was a receptionist.
mm,
To
mm.
someone else, it looks like, why would you take a receptionist role? But then 10 years later, I'm not a receptionist. But
Yeah.
it was an
Yeah.
opportunity that was available at that time in the type of
Mm,
sphere that I wanted to work in. So I was like,
mm,
okay,
mm,
if I work there, you know, I will prove myself. And eventually I moved away from that and then I was a recruitment administrator. Then
mm,
shortly after that, I was promoted. I was a trainee consultant. And shortly after that,
mm.
I was moving up in that sphere, but I didn't not take that opportunity because that was what
Yeah.
was available. I've met people
Mm,
that are lawyers today that were working at Pick and Pay,
mm,
and
mm.
there's nothing wrong with taking an opportunity as opposed to sitting at
Yeah.
home.
And
There's
you
no
know what? Sorry, that KK. And
yeah
you know the one thing that graduates need to understand that now these days that we are in, or this age that you are in, opportunities no longer present themselves. You create opportunity for yourself. You know, you
yeah
create that path. You create, whatever you're looking for. You know, whatever higher position that you looking for, you build yourself towards that. That will be your character, in a workplace. How do you perform your duties? You can attest, I started as an administrator, but
yeah
currently I'm a senior recruitment consultant because I showed my capabilities, what I can do. I asked a lot of questions. The more you ask question, you get information. And as you mentioned about the social media, your life, or how your yeah let me say, how you live your life outside there, it will tell a lot how you will behave inside the company. um you know and especially if you are in law, the things you talk about on social media, because now companies, we do check your social media. We go through
no
your Facebook, we see things you talk about, we go on your LinkedIn, we go on your Twitter, because it's quite important. We need to know who are you outside work.
yeah.
you know
I think it's
yeah.
very important that you mentioned that because I'm not saying
Mm.
people mustn't party. I'm not saying people. Everybody
Yeah.
has a social life. We understand that.
Mm,
I'm just saying that you may say something on social media that is linked to a client of that
mm,
particular company and they may
mm,
lose that client and you may lose your job.
mm,
So there's a lot that plays into social media, right? But each and every
mm,
company has a social media policy. If it doesn't,
mm.
you rather be the policy yourself and just limit
Yeah.
the type of content. If that content you're unable to share it, or if you fear that if a colleague saw this, they never entertain that post.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my number
Mm,
one rule is like I will never entertain any comments. I won't comment on anything political, religious,
yeah.
or sexual orientation, for instance.
Mm,
So I
mm,
always shy away from those things because it might be perceived wrong because I might say something innocently and then it may turn into something else. So there's many
mm,
cases that we've had where people get dismissed or they get disciplinaries. Well, that's far into now, once you're employed and stuff, but that still applies, especially as a
mm,
grad. I've
mm,
done some social media referencing as well myself, so
mm, mm.
those things play a role into, yeah,
Yeah, and also, graduates, one thing I've also observed is their email addresses. Someone will put, sorry to
sexy
lack of
babe.
better word, sexy babes or sexy Tuli or Tuli the babes. You know, so if perhaps as a graduate you're watching us now, you need to change your email address. You can go to Gmail, change it. Gmail doesn't
Yeah,
charge you
I think I think
anything.
I think that's very important. You just actually made me
Yeah,
realize that it's one
yeah,
of the most underrated thing, right?
yeah,
My
yeah.
Gmail address is my name and surname,
Mm,
and
mm,
I think that's more professional because a lot of people don't change their Gmail addresses.
mm,
Well, it's not a
mm,
big part, but it is. Some people have really interesting
mm,
user names for their Gmail. So I think
mm.
just make it neutral as much as possible. So that's very important as well because if you
And
have a
also, the one thing that also people don't think about is their voice messages.
voicemail,
I
yeah,
don't if you call someone, yeah, yeah, ufunani, bye, like in my head I'm like, man, you are so childish. I won't even bother to call you again. So
yeah,
it's quite important. People need to understand. We're not saying don't live your life. You are allowed to live your life, but there are certain, because of the career that you are choosing, there are certain restrictions. There are certain things that you can't do. You can do, but to your potential employer, it might put you on a bad note.
yeah,
So it's people need to understand, and as you mentioned earlier, talking about the tool of LinkedIn, ask question. There are recruiters there, inbox them, ask them questions. If you can even send them your CV. Please, can you review this CV? Is it I mean, I have a lot of testimonies of people that they've asked me question. I've given them information that as best of my abilities, and they are doing well. Some they've got jobs, some they are working, uh, and I'm glad. It's my joy, seeing someone finding job a job you know
no, absolutely. And I think you raised a very important thing about asking the right questions. And I remember when I worked with you, you were
Mm,
asking me a lot of questions, and
mm,
I look at you now. It's a great testament that you're far from the
mm,
time when you were a recruitment administrator. I remember,
mm.
and it was a new sphere for you because you haven't dealt with IT before,
Yeah,
and and that knowledge sharing did really assist you. And over the years, we never lost contact in a way. So
yeah.
I
Mm,
think it's very important that you ask the right question. In the same way, like I said this earlier, if you're able to DM someone,
mm,
take them out, take that same energy, put that
mm,
into your workspace, and DM
mm,
or send a message on LinkedIn to
mm,
a marketing manager and say, listen, I just finished graduating or I'm in my third year. How can I access your company or how will I be able to apply?
mm,
Well,
mm,
you can't be dismayed because people are not replying to you, right? So some people will reply to you, some people won't. That's
mm,
just a matter of life. You can't take that personally. So you need to inbox, and the more you put yourself out there, the more you will get noticed. So
mm,
I've seen a lot of testimony through LinkedIn as well, where people are, they've recently graduated and they tag the companies. They'll say
mm.
like your Discovery F&B or whatever, and then they list them and they say, listen, I just recently graduated. Some even put their transcripts.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're brave enough to do that, you can, but I wouldn't advise putting your transcripts out there with your ID and all this other stuff in terms
Mm,
of like protecting your public, your personal information. But
mm,
you need to, for you to be out there, you need to take the necessary steps to be out there. So I normally use
mm.
this analogy of your social media platform. The same
Yeah,
energy that we put so much, especially the youth, we put so much time
yeah.
and effort in our social media page. If you take a
Mm,
picture, it has to be like the most. best quality editing videos, and take that same energy into your career. So if you want
mm,
to, put goals, like put short-term goals, long-term goals, and ensure
mm,
that once you've completed, or if you are dismayed and let's say you've been without a job for 3 years now, and you've graduated, I'd say start looking at roles, even if it's not what you necessarily want to do at that particular time, but
yeah,
it's in the field that you want to be in.
mm,
I'd recommend that. Like for instance, what I
mm,
mean by that, if you are an LLB graduate and the first thing you want to do obviously is to secure articles, right? And if you haven't
yeah,
secured articles, go do that legal intern role. Go do that
mm,
internship. Go do that,
mm,
because that, to us, when you get to us and we ask you, we understand you completed your LLB. We see that you worked here. It shows that you
mm,
have nothing is beneath you, and it shows that you are eager to learn, even though that's not
mm,
what you want to do.
mm,
And if you were
mm,
doing that, you didn't want to sit at home and do nothing. You were doing
mm,
something in that period. Or you
mm,
can, some people decide to go for their post grad, which is
mm,
fine. But the danger of that sometimes is you don't want to specialize in something that um, you haven't even had work experience in. What if you don't like that field or whatever that you
mm,
specialize in? So
mm,
there's also that. And then secondly is, yeah, I think I don't want to expand too much on. I don't
mm,
know if
mm.
there's any questions at the moment. Don't want to just speak to the screen and then people don't have questions and then we're having not raised
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I think to our viewers at home, you can just put your questions there. You can just type them in the comment section, then we can tackle them. So please, if you have a question, you can just put on a comment section.
Oh yeah, I'm
Uh,
seeing the comments here on the side.
yeah. So if
Oh
you
yeah,
can just put them there so that we can just deal with it. And Keke, since you are into graduates recruitment, uh, let's touch a bit on career development while they're preparing their questions. I've worked with a lot of learnerships, internships, and we see there's thousands and thousands of youth especially in South Africa, that have your masters, your degrees. Some have the PhDs, but they are not working, and
yeah,
they're just sitting at home. And growing up, we grew up, once maybe your parents say, Mwanake, you must be a doctor. That's how you are channeled to be. You must
yeah.
be a doctor. But is it what you are passionate for? Is it what you want? So a question maybe that I can throw to you is that in this age, let's take after COVID, because after lockdown, everything changed. Um, as a graduate, or now I'm a student, I'm in maybe grade 12, I'm looking to go to university maybe next year. Do
Yeah.
I follow my passion, or do I study what is needed in the country? I don't know if you
Yeah, I think
understand the
that's a
question.
great question, right? So
Yeah.
ultimately, why I mentioned what is needed in terms of scarce skills is that you may find that whatever that scarce skills is what you're passionate about. I know a friend
Mm,
of mine is on the comments. I see he's in IT, right? So
mm,
he's very passionate about software development and stuff like that,
mm,
and he probably has a story as to why he was passionate about it. So,
mm,
and it doesn't necessarily, sometimes we don't even know what our passions are. I was one of those people that I
mm,
never understood
mm,
what my passion is. I
mm.
went and studied something that I'm completely I'm in a different industry right now. I studied
Yeah.
marketing management, but I'm not doing marketing,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So I think the most important thing, especially with COVID, it helped us to make things very clear. It helped us to think outside of the box. It helped us to plug out of this red race that we're in and say
yeah.
what is it that I want to do. And for some of us it accelerated our ambitions and our plans,
Mm, mm,
because it was a very tricky time, right? So as a graduate, or you just left matric, I'd say, what is your passion? And
mm,
the second follow-up question is that, is that passion something that you, where does that passion lie in terms of industry? Where
yeah,
does it fit in?
mm,
And then you can, if it doesn't fit in any faculty, there's nothing wrong um, to start exploring that. There's so many success stories of people that open their businesses during lockdown and it's
mm,
flourished, you
mm,
know.
mm,
And normally, although I deal with graduates, I don't say people must limit themselves to formal education. There's
mm.
multiple platforms, especially with the IT space, where you can
Yeah,
get
yeah.
certifications that is not in a formal institution, but then it still
Mm,
gives you a competitive advantage in that specific market.
mm.
So
That's your
there's
Udemy. I
yes, I was
think
about to
Udemy is
say
one of them. Yeah,
yes. So there's Udemy, and doesn't have just only IT courses. It actually has
yeah,
multiple courses in different fields, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not free now. I think the you can get courses for like 100 Rand, 300
Yeah.
Rand, but it's not very expensive. And to
Mm,
acquire that skill is very it's not texting like going in a formal institution, right?
mm,
So
mm,
I'd say ultimately it's very important that you sit down and analyze what you are able to do. And if
mm,
you are unable to come to a specific answer, I'd say that start, applying into the market
mm,
and applying for learnership, for
mm,
apprenticeships, for and then from there you'll start to quickly realize what your skills are, and you can harness those
mm,
skills and then maybe study further after that. You
mm,
don't have
mm,
to necessarily study um, from the get-go. Like you don't have to
mm,
study literally from high school, then you go straight into varsity. Because
mm.
I think I speak for many people, especially in the African culture, we
Yeah,
are sort of influenced by our parents in terms of the field of study, right? So
true,
sometimes a
true.
gap year is a very important thing for you to do in
Yeah,
order for you to
yeah.
channel where you need to go.
Mm,
And it was frowned upon when gap years, when that started like being a thing.
mm,
But I think
mm,
it's very important that you utilize that gap year to actually find out what you need to do. I think that's another
mm,
solution. In
mm,
case you don't know where you want to channel your energy to, right? So
mm, mm,
and then
mm.
thirdly and lastly, I'd say that once again, the thing that we don't use the most is, if you're interested in a specific field, connect
Yeah.
with those people in that field,
Mm,
and those
mm,
people will
mm,
tell you how. And each and every person had different a different journey, and you don't have to
mm,
follow the blueprint, but that information will help you greatly to know how to maneuver in that particular space, right? So
mm, mm.
if you want to be an accountant, I don't know, on your LinkedIn profile, go and follow people that are for PW, that work for PwC, the likes of
Yeah.
PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, Accenture, all of those people.
Mm,
Just follow those people and ask them, listen, I'm a student, or I'm about to complete my qualification, or I'm about to start a qualification. What did you do? They will
mm,
give you a whole
mm.
scope to say you can follow the CA route, CSA route, you can go the cycle route. There's multiple. Finance is such a broad space
Yeah.
that you
Mm.
channel that information and know what to use. And I see here on the comment section, uh, N- Nizi said that there is free courses as well on Udemy.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah,
right.
there
So there
is.
is some free courses as well. So I think that's very important that
Mm,
you maximize. Information is free.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
I don't think we'll get to a point where information is not free, but information is free. So why
Yeah.
not utilize it?
Mm. And I mean, even today, I just discovered, not today, actually, 2 weeks ago, there is another free online course platform. They call it e-learning college. I mean, it's free.
Yeah,
You just go in, they give you a module, you study, they have multiple question exam, you just, it's free, no charge at all. So the
Yeah.
more the more you explore yourself, the more you ask, as KK mentioned before, the more you ask the right questions, connecting to the right people that will be able to give you more information of what you need, in the career that you're choosing.
No, absolutely. And I don't know if there's any questions at the moment, or there isn't any questions that's been posed. No.
There, no, I don't see any question as yet. I
Yeah,
don't see
I
any
think
question.
I'm not too sure how long this session would be, ne, Tabiso, but
Yeah.
I think also to break it into segments, I think is
Mm.
is focusing. I think I shared light on terms of the CV, what that should
Yeah.
look like, and so
Yeah.
forth, and then I'll go more into once you are in university, for instance, or
Mm.
uh, there's a process as well in there that you need to follow. Like, for instance, if you're doing a degree that you're doing for 4 years, second year into that degree, you need to start learning. Okay, how am I, once I'm completed with my degree, do I have a
Mm.
plan outside of that? With
Mm.
the
Mm.
information that I've gathered, with the people that I've spoken, do I have a roadmap or blueprint after
Mm.
that? So
Mm.
that's very
I
important.
think we will have thanks, Nizan. I think he shared a link for
For
Udemy
you then.
courses. So, viewers, you can just go on the link. You can look for a course that uh, that you can look for a course that will interest you, or that is in line of your passion. Thanks, Nizen, again. I appreciate. So I was saying, I think we'll have another session because there's a lot to
To
discuss,
unpack.
and
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to discuss, to unpack, regarding recruitment as a whole, because we have not touched, how to prepare for an
For
interview. We've
interviews,
not
yes.
touched that. We've not touched, especially for those who have experience, negotiation skills for salaries. There's a lot of topics that we're going to handle, during the course of our lives, while God has given
Yeah,
us lives,
yeah,
to give to the community. And I must say, I think we spoke a bit earlier during the day. This what you're doing, it's out of our giving back to the community and to the youth out there. We're not benefiting anything from this one. It's something that we do, out of our good heart, and giving back to the community out there, because there is, I believe, there is still some jobs there, but how you get those jobs, or how you channel yourself to that job, it really matters. And then, in terms of, just last question, then we done for the day.
yeah.
And then, in terms of the graduates that are watching us out there, what platforms can they go to, to market their CVs, or to look for internships and all?
I think the first one would be to go directly to the companies, because
Okay.
companies have ATS systems, right? I know
Okay.
FMB has an ATS system. I know Discovery has an ATS system. I know
Yeah.
our company has an ATS system. You can apply online and open a profile there. And then you have the likes of your career portals like your PNet, your Career
Mm,
Junction, your Leaply, your LinkedIn
mm,
profiles. So those are so many platforms that they can utilize. The same way
mm.
we'll have your social media platforms is the same way
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
applications will operate them, and they're not difficult to understand. If we don't have
Mm,
a manual to how to operate Facebook, clearly we can
mm.
be able to operate those platforms too, because they'll ask for your
Yeah.
personal details, and then sometimes because of those platforms you get called by agencies as well. So
Yeah.
agencies
Yeah.
will be in contact with you because they will be searching on those portals to
Mm,
find particular skills, and then you may be of luck that they will call you. And
mm,
I
mm,
guess another topic of discussion as well is knowing between what what an agency
mm,
does, and not to fall for scams, because there's a whole thing
mm.
about scams now where
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
use personal information, or they use them to for fake interviews, and then
yeah,
people get like kidnapped and stuff. But
mm,
not to go
mm,
off topic. So there's that to
mm,
look out for. So when an agency is contacting you, I think the best thing is to research where that agency is. Normally, an agency
yeah,
will have a website. They will have
yeah,
a location where they're based. They'll have a landline number.
yeah,
They'll have a website.
mm,
And once you go on LinkedIn, which is a great tool, is to look at that person and say, okay, this
mm,
person called me from this specific firm. Let me see what their LinkedIn profile is like. In most cases,
mm,
they wouldn't have a LinkedIn profile, they wouldn't have a
mm,
page, they wouldn't have a
mm,
website. So that is a red flag if you see
yeah,
that. So I'd say that the most important thing, just to leave it out there, is once again, I can't stress enough, is you surround yourself with people that are going in the direction that you want to go in.
mm,
So
mm,
and how you do that is the same way you choose friends. It's like if
yeah,
you want to be in the IT space, surround yourself that with people that are in that space. And what I mean by surround is not like normally just chill with those people alone, but speak to people in that space.
mm,
Speak to
mm,
people
mm,
that are currently in those space, or if you don't know people that are currently in that space, connect with people on social media that are in that space. Ask those questions.
mm, mm,
Asking the right questions will get you closer to
yeah,
what you need to know. Just
what you need to know.
suffering in silence and saying, I don't have a job, so I'll
Yeah,
wait for the government to subsidize, so there's many ways to get yourself out of that situation. And also working at a specific field,
mm,
going for an administrative role, going for
mm,
a role that you never really planned for, to make sure that your mind is stimulated and you are doing
mm,
something. It's not a wrong thing. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't stress that enough.
Yeah, and also, what I can also just advise people there is that, look for agencies that are dealing with your specific career. We have agencies that are dealing specific with law, with
Yes.
agencies that are dealing specifically with your engineering, nursing, and all. So look for those agencies, give them a call. Some, they have a website, you can register your CV with them. Just give them a call, guys. I'm looking for this and this and that. And always, most of the time, when you get to the receptionist, don't just tell them what you're looking for. Ask to speak to a recruiter. Can I speak to any recruiter? They will transfer you to the recruiter. Ask questions and tell them, this is what I'm looking for, this is the experience, or I don't have any experience. Can I maybe register my CV or send you my CV and check in with you maybe after a month or so? So it's quite important that you go all out. You go all out, register your CV to all the platforms that KK has mentioned.
No, absolutely. And I think then we can cap it for there. Then we can speak on, email preparation, then going all the
Mm,
way to, um, you know, uh, how to prep, how to prepare yourself for
mm,
that
mm,
specific interview, and
mm.
how to, when it comes to offers as well, that
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
mean the first offer is the right offer. Just because we
Mm,
have a pandemic of
yeah,
unemployment doesn't mean you have to accept a bad offer. So,
yeah,
funny
yeah.
enough, I was speaking to a friend of mine who's live right now, and we were speaking about, if an offer doesn't make sense, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to accept it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
so we'll speak about that as well, to say,
Mm,
um, how to negotiate even salary. Find
mm,
out what
mm,
does that position pay in
mm.
this. What is the market related
Yeah.
salary for that space? If it's an internship or is a stipend.
Mm,
Normally, stipends and internships, they range from anything from 3,700 all the way to 10K. No, not
yeah,
10K. I
yeah.
think they run
Mm.
about maybe from 3.7 to about 8, 9. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
I've been out of that
I
space
think
for a while.
max should be 8.
Yeah, max should be 8. That's a
Mm,
range for a stipend on internship role, right?
mm,
And then
yeah.
you go internships as well. They vary from company to company. So you need to
Mm,
find out how much is that pay in that
mm,
space. And then you go there and you go to Google. Google is our
mm.
friend. And we find out, okay, what does a marketing coordinator earn? What is the
Yeah.
minimum
Yeah.
that they can earn? What is the mid salary that they can earn? What is the maximum they can earn? And the
Mm,
maximum will obviously go with the number of years of experience that you have.
mm, mm,
So
mm.
so we need to obviously unpack those things to say
Yeah.
what does that look like, and how do you and I know a lot of people fear the discussions around salary, or they will
Yeah.
just come to you and say, okay, we're offering you 10,000, and now you accept 10,000, like, yeah, 10,000, you know. But then you
Mm,
didn't do the necessary research to say, okay, this role in the market pays this amount,
mm,
and
mm,
unless you don't have anything that you
mm.
have on the pipeline and you haven't had
Yeah.
experience, that's when I can
Mm,
say you can fold and accept that for the time being, and
mm,
then get that
mm.
experience, because that's what matters, right? But once
And
you, yeah, sorry,
yeah,
Tavisa.
I was saying, and also, if like now when we're talking up maybe to people that are more experienced, you also ask for a dummy pay slip, because you need to see, what are the deductions, what is UIF, what is tax going to take, because so that you make you plan your life, and also your negotiations, it will help you to negotiate better. Uh,
No, absolutely. And I think that's a very
mm,
important thing, because a lot of, funny enough that you mentioned, even students ask for a dummy
yeah.
pay slip. So the intake for
Mm,
2023 that we did
mm,
now, I know some of the legal interns asked for the dummy pay slip. They say, listen, I want to
mm.
see how much I'm going to net. And it's not a wrong thing to ask for. We actually did
Yeah.
provide that for them to
Yeah.
understand, okay, I'm going to net this. Then they can start planning to say, okay, I'm going
Mm,
to use a taxi from here to here. This is how much is going to go. You plan better, right? So
mm, mm,
unless that company doesn't have facilities to provide a dummy payslip, which is not a bad
mm.
thing. It doesn't mean if they don't provide it, it means that not all the companies provide it, but they must
Yeah.
give you an idea or an indication. Speak to the HR person
Mm,
in that space and say, on the basis of, you guys know that you would have had interns before, you would have,
mm,
roughly how much they net. So what would be the
mm,
net looking like? So
mm,
there's a lot to unpack in terms of the recruitment process. I think today it was just an overview, so we can
mm,
break it
mm.
into segments. I think going forward for the next sessions
Yeah.
to, and then just discuss those elements.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think, Kay, let's end it here because we
yeah.
won't finish. Recruitment, it's huge and there's so much information. So we don't want you to give you all the information. So we've tried, to cover, regarding the topic of the day, but we promise soon we'll definitely have another session, dealing with different topics. But if you have more questions, you can follow me on LinkedIn. It's Tabiso Matabani and Kekeleto. You can also follow me on LinkedIn if you have more question, or maybe a question might come through during the course of the week. So I'm on Facebook. You can inbox me, but Keke is not on Facebook. So
Yeah.
you can just follow. So you can just go on LinkedIn, Kekeletos Backing, and just follow him and just inbox him. And then I think that's the end of our session. And
Yeah.
thank you, Keke, for making this time. I know you are a busy man, and I do appreciate your time. Really, really appreciate. And to everyone that joined, I saw quite a number of people joined us tonight. Thank you, guys. We do appreciate, and we'll do the best of our abilities, to make sure we help where we can. And just by the way, before we close, there's a project I'll be embarking. Maybe Keke will speak in offline, maybe if you have
Yeah. Yeah.
time, whereby I'll be assisting randomly people to update their CVs. It's a project it's a huge project, because once I put out the information there, thousands of people will send CVs. So I'm still trying to find strategic way to limit the number, at least per week, if I can deal with 10 CVs. that will do. But we'll tell you once, one time while time goes on, maybe in a month or so, while the processes are in place, we'll do the best of our abilities. If you're going for an interview, we'll have a platform where you can maybe contact us, find out how can I prepare, for an interview. We'll really help you. So thank you so much, our viewers. Have a lovely night. We'll see you then. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks, Taviso. And just lastly,
Yeah.
I think also I did some internship, some mentorship webinar as well. It was on the weekend, so I don't know if just check with your viewers as well what time they prefer. Maybe the time slot, maybe some. Oh yeah, for some people that inboxed me on my Instagram and they told me no, I can't make it, and now I just only remembered now while
Mm-mm.
the session is done that we didn't record the session. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you did record it, but
No, don't worry. I'll make it available. But they will have to go on YouTube. So we'll
yeah.
just stream it.
All
They'll
right,
just
cool.
get it on
So
YouTube.
there's that, and just collect maybe perhaps as a suggestion to say what is best suited for your
Mm.
audience, because I guess for some people, I'm just anticipating that they may have missed the session. Maybe we can